headlines for this hour on VTV News. Party chief welcomes American firm investment in Vietnam. Strategic trade control decrees expected to boost business competitiveness. And positive signals from US-China tariff talks boost global markets.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi. You're watching VTV News. Party General Secretary Tô Lâm welcomed Daniel Rosen, Managing Director of U.S.-based Rosen Partners LLCs on Wednesday afternoon. The Vietnamese leader reaffirmed Vietnam's commitment to deepening relations with the U.S. in various fields, including trade and investment. He welcomed Rosen Partners' interest in culture and tourism investment and encouraged further cooperation in science, high-quality agriculture, and human resource development. The U.S. entrepreneur ally plans to build a world-class amusement park in Vietnam and pledged to promote collaboration in AI, science and technology, and links between Vietnamese and international scientists. On Wednesday morning at the international conference, 50 Years of National Reunification, the Role of Diplomacies in Peacemaking in History and Present, State President Lương Cường emphasized Vietnam's strategic approach during its unequal struggle against a much stronger invader. He noted that the party and state of Vietnam recognized early on the importance of integrating military, political, and diplomatic efforts. Following the Politburo's 1969 resolutions that established diplomacy as a crucial strategic front, this diplomatic initiative helped divide opposition forces, secure international support, and communicate the legitimacies of the Vietnamese people's struggles worldwide. State President Lương Cường affirmed that Vietnamese diplomacy role in peace building has been evident across historical periods and expressed confidence that the conference will further clarify the significant lessons and remarkable contributions of Vietnamese diplomacies during both national liberation and development. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính met with Sierra Group Chair Susanna Campbell and the Swedish ambassador to Vietnam on a Wednesday evening. The government leader welcomed the group's $1 billion investment in a polyester fabric recycling complex in Bình Định province. The project aims to promote green, clean production by recycling textile waste. The Prime Minister highlighted Vietnam's focus on green energy and the circular economy as key growth drivers and praised Bình Định favorable investment conditions. The Swedish group chair commended Vietnam's strong progress in green transformations, while the Swedish ambassador affirmed Sweden's interest in expanding cooperation in science, technology, and sustainability. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn continued the 44th National Assembly Standing Committee sessions on Wednesday. The session focused on key legislative oversight and proposals to be submitted to the upcoming National Assembly meeting. More to follow.
During the session, the National Assembly Standing Committee gave feedback on the review of the 2024 Supervision Program and the first half of the year, as well as the proposed 2026 agenda, focusing on key areas including overseeing the streamlining of the administrative apparatus and preparations for the upcoming National Assembly and People's Council elections.
All National Assembly deputies must supervise local administrative restructuring starting this year and review the results next year. This includes assessing enforcement, citizen access, asset management, staff transitions, and identify necessary policy support. We must closely supervise the establishment of the National Election Council and the organization of the elections for the 16th National Assembly and People's Councils at all levels. Transparency, democracy, and fairness must be ensured throughout. If we carry out election oversight well, it will contribute to the success of the upcoming 11th Party Central Committee's resolution.
The committee also reviewed a draft report summarizing opinions and petitions from voters and citizens submitted on the 9th session of the National Assembly. They also discussed the proposal of a 2% VAT reduction on goods and services currently subject to the 10% rate. In addition, the committee emphasized the need to ensure fiscal balance, especially through streamlining efforts and tuition waivers. In the following session, the committee reviewed a proposal to shorten the term of the current 50 National Assembly and People's Councils at all levels from 2021 to 2026. The proposal also includes setting the official election date for the 2026-2031 term and establishing the National Election Council to oversee the process.
At a working session with leading foreign direct investment FDI enterprises on Wednesday, Politburo member and head of the Central Policy and Strategy Committee Chen Liu-Guang emphasized the importance of stronger collaboration between FDI and domestic businesses. He called on FDI enterprises to be more proactive in technology transfer and to create favorable conditions for Vietnamese firms to integrate more deeply into global value chains, especially in the face of ongoing fluctuations in international trade. The leader also affirmed that Vietnam will continue to support FDI enterprises with a renewed approach that aligns with current development trends, aiming to elevate Vietnam's positions in the global value chain and its robust economic ecosystem. In the complex geopolitical landscape and the ongoing restructuring of global supply chains, several countries have introduced strategic import-export control policies to safeguard national security and ensure fair competitions. Vietnam is also moving swiftly to develop a similar framework. The draft Strategic Trade Control Decree has drawn business interest, hoping to boost domestic competitiveness.
For mechanical engineering businesses, technology investment in component production lines is crucial to produce quality and market competitiveness. However, businesses often need to import certain equipment from Europe and Japan for these production lines. Their advanced technology results in them being classified as sensitive import items.
Investing in science and technology, especially key factors in the global supply chain, is crucial for the growth of Vietnamese businesses.
The Ministry of Industry and Trade recently released a draft of the Strategic Trade Control Decree. For the first time, this document clearly defines what constitutes strategic goods and technologies while also outlining specific procedures for export, import, suspension, or denial of licenses in sensitive cases. Most importantly, it aims to simplify procedures for businesses.
Importing new technology requires going through multiple appraisal agencies. A proposed one-stop mechanism would save businesses from running around.
When Vietnam proactively controls strategic trade, it builds trust with high-standard markets like the US, EU, and Japan, where technology, origin, and intellectual property rights are key concerns.
We now have clear and specific regulations on strategic trade control. This demonstrates that Vietnam can effectively manage technology and intellectual property, ensuring that sensitive technologies brought into the country won't be transferred elsewhere.
This decree safeguards national security while also being a strategic move in Vietnam's shift toward an innovation-driven economy. It will be a crucial boost if enacted, helping Vietnamese enterprises enter the global market with greater transparency, safety, and confidence.
State President Lương Cường began his official working visit to the Laos People's Democratic Republic today. This is his first state visit to Laos since taking office. The visit reflects the high-level commitment of both countries to deepening their traditional friendship and close ties.
These are soldiers and officers of the Lao People's Army sent to Vietnam to participate in the military parade commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Southern Liberation and National Reunification.
Laos and Vietnam have always stood side by side and shared joys and sorrows to fight against old and new enemies. These enduring bonds reflect not only the formidable combat strength and pure revolutionary spirit of both armies but also uphold the great values of our two militaries and people.
Generations of leaders and citizens of both countries have worked tirelessly to nurture these precious ties. Vietnam is currently the third largest investor in Laos, with total registered capital exceeding $5.6 billion.
The two countries' collaboration has seen positive progress across various fields, including national defense, security, economy, social, and education. This clearly demonstrates the great friendship, special solidarity, and comprehensive cooperation between Vietnam and Laos.
The state president's visit is expected to provide new momentum to further strengthen ties in a deeper, practical, and effective manner.
Vietnamese State President Lương Cương visit bears a significant meaning. Both sides will discuss issues in implementing foreign policies and agreements between the parties and states. This will deepen the great relationship between Laos and Vietnam.
The visit affirms the country, party, and state's consistent stance to always value and prioritize the special friendship of Laos.
Coming up next on VTV News, Vietnam breaks ground on its first hyperscale data center. And U.S. anti-war supporter returned to Vietnam for 50th anniversary of national reunification.
When it comes to business, it's crucial to choose a smart location with global impact. And Vietnam might just be the location for you. Connect worldwide to advanced logistics networks. Smart hub for technology and innovation. A dynamic business ecosystem. An environment with a competitive edge.
Viettel Group held the groundbreaking ceremony Wednesday afternoon for Vietnam's first hyperscale data and high-tech R&D center in the Cu Chi district, Ho Chi Minh City. With a capacity of over 100 megawatt, this center ranks among the top 10 in Southeast Asia. It will house around 10,000 data and network equipment racks. This is Viettel's 16th data center and a key step in building Vietnam's digital infrastructure, aiming to accelerate the country's journey to becoming a digital nation. Phase 1 is set to go live in early 2026, while the entire project is expected to complete before 2030. During the resistance war against American imperialism, Vietnam received immense support from international friends who created an unprecedented global network for Vietnam through various means. Even after restoring peace, many continue contributing to Vietnam's reconstruction and development. In the historic April's Day, they have returned, become a part of the joyful national celebrations of the Reunification Day, and witness to a peaceful and thriving nation.
John McAuliffe has made over 50 trips to Vietnam since 1975. Each time, he tries to make time for a walk around Hoàn Kiếm Lake, where he witnessed a moment of great significance, the joyful celebration of national reunification on April 30th, 1975.
Thousands and thousands of people simply walking around the lake. Orchestra from the conservatory carrying their instruments and walking. But it was families, it was people got out of work, and of course also when we arrived they were still hanging up the banners. They pulled me up in the truck and I rode in the truck around the lake.
Once an enthusiastic and long-term activist in the U.S. anti-war movement, McAuliffe founded and operated the Fund for Reconciliation and Development. The organization focused on building ties and supporting Vietnam's post-war recovery and pushed for the normalization of the Vietnam-U.S. relationship.
For me, the most important thing was the political transformation, was getting from this anger and saying we don't want to have anything to do with Vietnam to getting to the point that we could help the process of normalization.
Returning to Vietnam this time, John is accompanied by 10 other Americans who were active in the anti-war movement and continued their support for Vietnam after peace was restored. Now, they all strive to strengthen ties between the two countries.
Although now I'm
easing into retirement. The rank I have, education and professional advancement between Vietnamese students and faculty with the United States.
After Doi Moi, it enabled the energy of the people. It opened the door to creativity of the population.
"50 years ago, as Vietnam lay engulfed in the devastations of war, generations of Vietnamese students in the United States made a choice that would echo through history. They were more than just scholars pursuing knowledge. They were a voice of conscience, speaking up for what was right. Driven by a deep longing for peace in their homeland, they dedicated themselves to the visions of a reunified and peaceful Vietnam. Our VTV reporters in the United States tell us more.
On April 30th, 1975, news of the liberation of South Vietnam echoed across the streets of San Francisco. Thousands of American and overseas Vietnamese students poured into the streets, cheering and waving flags in a burst of emotion.
That afternoon, around 6 p.m., the Americans came back here, sharing their joy with us. Then together, we kept chanting the song, Ho Chi Minh, Ho Chi Minh.
From this house, Đạo and dozens of Vietnamese students studying in the U.S. 50 years ago raised their voices together for justice, demanding an end to the war in Vietnam.
Here, we didn't just discuss the war, we also talked about the Vietnamese people and Vietnamese culture. Our goal was to help Americans understand that if the U.S. government continued to support the war in Vietnam, it would not lead to anything positive and would ultimately harm America.
To dedicate themselves to their homeland, these young men, just 18 or 20 years old, were willing to put their studies on hold, endure harassment, and even face the threat of death.
Back then, I reached out to American anti-war groups to join the protests, expressing the pain of the Vietnamese people. The spirit at that time came from the heart of every individual.
They lived with a purpose far greater than themselves, their youth defined by a commitment to a cause that transcended personal gain. True peace is not forged by weapons, but by the unwavering courage to stand up and say no to war.
As the country moves closer to the 50th anniversary of the liberation of the South and national reunification, a special exhibition entitled Country Full of Joy opens on Wednesday at the Ho Chi Minh Museum in Hanoi. Showcasing more than 300 images, documents, and artifacts, the exhibitions highlight key moments in Vietnam resistance war. The exhibition takes visitors through the nation-long and arduous struggle, reaffirming the people's trust in the party leadership in the national renewal and development era. The event is now open to the public until August 10th. The 50th anniversary celebrations of the liberation of the South and national reunification feature 63 military parade units and 12 civilian marching teams from across the country. Ho Chi Minh City Youth Team was honored to participate in the public parade, representing the Vietnamese young generations and continuing the previous generation legacies. This event allows the city children to experience the anniversary vibrant spirit and gain a deeper appreciation for the nation's history.
At 8 p.m., over 190 outstanding secondary and high school children had gathered for the anniversary's march rehearsal. They rehearsed parade formations for nearly 2 months, braving the sweltering heat and juggling the pressures of final exams. These city's children remained determined to fulfill their duties for this historic event.
I have been practicing for a long time, but I don't feel tired because this event is important for every citizen. I'm very happy to represent my other friends in participating in it.
My role in the formation is ceremonial team's leader. We practice marching in place, synchronizing our steps, aligning ourselves horizontally and vertically, and ensuring everything is good. The parade had given us a way to show our pride and love for the homeland and affirm our future role.
The Ho Chi Minh City Youth Union and the city's Young Pioneers Council have organized several meaningful activities to educate children about national history. These include Project I Am a Liberation Soldier of Uncle Ho's City, meet and greets with historical witnesses, and staging a mass drum and bugle performance titled A Nation's Joy.
Every citizen, even our young members, has a love for our country. These recent activities has helped highlight this love and allow them to express this feeling of pride as citizen of the city named after President Ho Chi Minh.
After each rehearsal, Duerang returns home to review her lessons and prepare for the school next day. Whether on the parade route or in her studies, Duerang, like many children across the country, writes brilliant stories filled with pride and deep love for the homeland.
Coming up next in our war news, positive signals from U.S.-China tariff talks boost global markets. And electric vehicles take center stage at the world's largest auto show. Global stock market have witnessed positive signals on Wednesday after U.S. President Donald Trump hinted a lower tariff for China. Asian markets saw a much-needed rally during Wednesday trading sessions. In Japan, the benchmark Nikkei 225 climbed 1.66%. South Korea benchmark Kospi Stocks Index rose as much as 1.4% to the highest level since April 2nd, the day the U.S. president introduced reciprocal tariff. Hong Kong China benchmark, the Hang Seng Index, also opened strongly, climbing by 2.4%. Meanwhile, on Wall Street, all three major U.S. indices closed over 2% higher on Tuesday, following a statement from the White House indicating that U.S. President Trump is preparing for a potential deal with China. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 2.7%, the S&P 500 rose 2.5%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite advanced 2.7%. The world's largest auto industry exhibition officially opens on Wednesday in Shanghai, China. It witnessed the debut of a series of high-tech electric vehicles and attracted nearly 1,000 exhibitors. Global car makers are proving they can catch up with Chinese companies pioneering the electric vehicles field. Volkswagen, the largest foreign group in China, unveiled a series of new vehicles and driver assistance system built specifically for the Chinese market. China is the world's largest auto market and is still growing while other major markets are declining. Domestic growth in China is driven by the development of electric vehicles, which increasingly integrate smart features such as autonomous driving system. The Shanghai Auto Show will run until May 2nd. Over 200 university, college, and scholarly society presidents published a joint statement opposing the U.S. President Donald Trump administration treatment of higher education institutions. While the institution expressed willingness to constructive reform, they firmly oppose undue government institutions in the lives of those who learn, live, and work on American campuses. Tension escalated after Harvard University refused to comply with several federal demands on April 14, including increased oversight of students, faculties, and academic content. In response, the government announced it would freeze $2.3 billion in federal funding for the university, most of which support research programs. Thailand is one of the most vulnerable Southeast Asian countries to U.S. President Donald Trump's proposed tariff. If trade negotiations with the U.S. fail before the temporary tariff suspensions expired in July, Thai goods could face up to 36% duties. Such a move would severely disrupt Thailand's rice exports, one of its key industries, potentially giving a competitive edge to other major exporters in the region.
Thai farmer Dang Dansingha starts each day of the rice harvesting season by delivering her crops to a local mill in Nakhon Pathom. The money she collects from the mill feeds her 9-strong family. After suffering losses when global rice prices crashed following India's return to the export market, Dansingha is now bracing for another blow: the tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. These tariffs threaten to drastically reduce Thai rice demand in one of its most lucrative foreign markets, potentially destabilizing an industry valued at billions of dollars.
The problem is that the price of rice is very low, while other costs, such as fertilizers and farmland rent, are higher. There is an imbalance, and I'm losing money.
According to the Thai Rice Exporters Association, Thailand exported 9.94 million tons of rice last year, worth $6.82 billion US. The U.S. is its third largest market by volume but most lucrative.
If the U.S. imposes high tariffs on us, our jasmine rice will be too expensive to compete. If they impose 30% tariffs, at $1,000 US per metric ton, the price would rise to about $1,300 US. This is a very high price.
Rice shipments, however, are already sliding. Overall exports fell 30% in the first quarter as countries delayed buying decisions, and supply grew after India returned to the market. The Exporters Association forecasts a similar decline over the next 3 months.
And now, as usual, let's continue with the weather forecast. And that's it for this hour on VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can log on to vtvgo.vn or download our mobile application VTVgo. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.